We all know the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, the quirky series known for its campy live action and wacky cartoon segments.
Luigi.
And then there's the Mario 3 show. These shows are fondly remembered to this day. Hell, the recent Mario movie by Illumination even referenced the Super Show's theme song at the start of the film.
When you think he's in trouble, you could call us on the double. We're faster than the others, you'll be hooked on the brothers.
But there's a third Mario cartoon, arguably the most short-lived and forgotten one at that. And that being Super Mario World. This was actually the final Mario animated show from DiC Entertainment. Or is it Dick? I don't even know.
Dick.
Part of why the show is so forgotten is actually because of how it aired. Mario World was sort of bundled in with another show in the same syndication package, similar to how the Zelda cartoon was packed in with the Super Show a few years prior. It was bundled in with Captain N, the Game Master, and was frequently aired as sort of an additional segment in the same time slot. But we're not here to talk about Captain N. We'll get to him another time. I want to talk about Super Mario World, and since there's not really that many episodes, how about we go through each one and review them individually? The way I'll be watching this show will be through the complete series DVD released by N-Circle. I know there's other ways to watch this show, like YouTube and even streaming services, but I thought this would have been more fun. I'm actually using my PlayStation 5 as the DVD player here. Honestly, this is the most use I've gotten out of this PS5 in recent times. Fire Sale starts off with Wendy, who is, for some reason, in a land of nothing but snow and ice. She doesn't really like how cold it is, so she decides to kidnap this talking piranha plant who shoots fire. Mario and the others find out about this and go and stop Wendy from melting the ice area before it floods the rest of the island. Apparently Yoshi is scared of water and has to overcome his fear to save the day. Originally, I was going to point out how silly this fear was, but then I remembered Mario Sunshine exists, where Yoshi's literally dissolve when they touch water, so maybe he's justified. Honestly, there's really not a whole lot to say about this episode. It's really dull, nothing really happens, and the animation is absolutely horrendous here. I know DiC cartoons tend to look really terrible due to low budgets and strict deadlines, but this episode had a ton of animation errors that really distracted from the experience. The pacing was really messy too. Overall, just not a good start. Also, the DVD I'm watching these on didn't properly edit these episodes, so the last thing I saw when I watched this was the fucking Captain N logo, so that was pretty nice. As Mario, Luigi, and
The princess
continue to live in Dome City. Dome City? Is that the name? That's dumb. But anyways, they realize how the cave people who live here seem to be struggling with basic tasks. So, Mario and Luigi invent the wheel, leading to the creation of cars and the assembly line. As expected, chaos ensues, and then Ludwig tries to steal Mario's ideas to create a mech to terrorize the entire city. The cave people then use everything Mario invented to defeat the mech. Honestly, this episode was a lot better than the last one. The animation is a bit less messy, but you can still tell it's a rush to DiC show, but it's not as distracting as before. The absurdity of Mario and Luigi basically creating the Industrial Revolution and then immediately seeing the consequences of it is pretty funny. Overall, it was an alright episode. I enjoyed this one. King Koopa creates a circus, but oh no! He's making it as a trap to lure the cave people so he can feed them to his dinosaurs. Wait, the clowns were dinosaurs in disguise. How the fuck did no one see this? It's just dinosaurs with little clown noses on that... Honestly, this episode was dumb. It's not bad, it was just really, really dumb. Also, I didn't realize this at first, but the Koopalings actually have different names in the cartoons. I got whiplash after realizing that Morton Koopa is actually named Big Mouth.
time out on the tongue department, Big Mouth.
But besides the stupid shit, I actually enjoyed the last portion of the episode seeing Mario in action. One of my favorite aspects of the Mario cartoons is actually seeing the characters use the power-ups and attack enemies. These scenes really fulfill the imagination of the kids who grew up playing these games. Overall, not a bad episode. Not as entertaining as the last, but not as painful as Fire Sale. Ghost Sarus starts off with Mario and his goofy gang of wacky friends searching around a forest for a cave boy named Oogtar. But uh-oh! Mario, Luigi, and Princess Toadstool get kidnapped by Wisenheimer.
Weisenheimer!
That's Wisenheimer!
There's this sort of running gag where Mario gets his name wrong throughout the episode, but okay, who cares? This is a Yoshi-centered episode. I gotta be real with you guys. I'm not a fan of this one. Yoshi is just too predictable of a character, and I'm seeing very early in this show that he only really has two traits, being stupid and hungry, or both, depending on what's going on. And his voice really sucks. I don't think his voice actor is bad. I'm not trying to shit on their work, but listen to him.
Oogtar, friend. But Plumbers and Princess worried about Oogtar. Why Oogtar lost?
Oh, and don't even get me started on Oogtar. He just absolutely fucking sucks. He's supposed to be Toad's replacement in this show. Hell, Oogtar's even played by Toad's voice actor, John Stalker.
Hey, man! I'm the fantastic fungus! Oogtar not afraid of ghosts. Oogtar not afraid of anything.
But honestly, his performance here is painful. It almost sounds like he's straining his voice to sound as annoying as possible. Not a good episode. The concept of the episode isn't bad. I love the spooky atmosphere, and the backgrounds are great. But giving the focus to the characters with the most insufferable voices in the entire show is just not a good idea. This one gave me a headache. Oh boy, it's a Christmas special! Mario observes that the cave people are incredibly selfish and hostile, so he introduces Christmas in the summer.
There's this nice guy named Santa Claus who brings presents to all the kids who've been good.
King Koopa and his son, Bully, find out and they decide to ruin it by stealing Christmas. I neglected to mention this, but each episode has a song. The characters don't sing it themselves, but it's just randomly tossed into the climax of the episode, and they're all pretty terrible. A lot of screechy vocals and repetitive music. But besides that, this was a fun one. I'm not typically a fan of Christmas episodes in these type of cartoons because they tend to be a little repetitive, but considering how this episode takes place in summer, it doesn't even really feel like a Christmas episode, which is a bit underwhelming, but I do really like Mario's Santa getup. It kind of makes me think of that Mario Odyssey DLC costume. Pretty okay episode overall. Not my favorite, but enjoyable enough.
Oh, I can see them run by the town. I can hear them all sing.
Oh dear God, I remember watching this one as a kid. King Koopa introduces fast food to Dome City, causing almost everyone to get addicted to it. This goes about how you would expect it to. Everyone but Princess Toadstool gets hooked on the food. They end up turning into chickens. So, King Koopa's plan is actually to turn the population into chickens, and then cook them, and then sell that chicken to dinosaurs. I'm not gonna lie, that is a little dark. For this show at least, it's pretty crazy. Despite the concept being kind of by the books, this is a fun one. It starts off a little dull, but I really like the direction it goes in once everyone starts turning into chickens. It's also really nice seeing the princess get a little more involved in this episode, besides just being the voice of reason. This might be my favorite episode so far.
Now go home and eat some vegetables. Dr. Mario's orders.
We're about halfway through the review by now, and I wanted to take a quick break just to talk about why I picked this show specifically. Well, despite it being the shortest and easiest to make a video on, I was always really fascinated about this cartoon. Out of all the 3 Mario cartoons, this one always seemed to be the most forgotten and the most different from the other 2. Mario World has a lot more grounded stories and a softer color palette compared to the hard colors and the fantastical, wacky stories that the Super Show and the Mario 3 show constantly had. But as we reach the halfway point, I gotta say, I'm really enjoying my time watching these, and I hope you are too. I'm gonna go grab some water. I encourage you all to do the same. I'll be right back.
Stay tuned! Captain N and Super Mario Brothers World will be right back.
Yo, Mega Dudes, time for Captain N and Super Mario Brothers World.
God, these bumpers are fucking weird. Why are they referring to it as the Super Mario Bros. World show? According to online sources, this show has also been referred to as the new Super Mario World show. Hell, even the storyboards for the intro on the DVD I'm watching say that. But the show itself is just Super Mario World. So, which is it? Also, speaking of the DVD I'm using, it kind of sucks. It splits all 13 episodes into 2 discs, I assume to save money, and every time I load this disc up on my PlayStation, I get jump scared with advertisements for the Zelda cartoon, Sonic Underground, and almost naked animals. Ugh. Born to Ride starts off with the Mario Brothers trying to make a working sink. But uh-oh! Yoshi is being an inconvenience, as usual.
But I hungry. Bamboo good. Yoshi not know it plumbing.
That's no excuse!
So Mario tells him to screw off, and he does. Hopefully for the rest of the show. But then Yoshi gets caught up in a gang of biker dinosaurs who take him in as their own and push him to cause trouble.
Eat the bomb?
No! Throw Bob-omb!
Throw the bomb?
I'm beginning to notice that a lot of the Yoshi-focused episodes seem to be more moral-driven, like overcoming your fears, eating healthy, and this one's about gangs and peer pressure. Besides the reveal of Yoshi's gangster outfit, this episode was kind of just meh. I'm also beginning to notice that Yoshi-focused episodes are the ones I like the least. Huh, it's almost like he's not a good character. Party Line starts off with the Mario Brothers realizing how dangerous Dinosaur World is, and they decide to invent the telephone and give the cave people a 911 phone line for emergencies.
This is your princess speaking.
What the fuck? Why does Toadstool sound kind of off? Okay, I looked it up, and apparently, according to Wikipedia at least, when they recorded her lines, they accidentally lowered the pitch? That's weird. Deke, you're fucking weird. But anyways, I'm beginning to notice a formula here. I feel like every other episode so far has just been the main characters introducing some sort of new invention or way of living to the cave people. And it of course goes wrong and creates the conflict of the episode. Here, there's landlines made from vines everywhere, and they become overgrown. As the cave people are so fixated on using their phones, they neglect the condition of their own city. Phone bad. Am I right, fellas? Also, I haven't really noticed this, but they use the Fire Flower color palette for the Invincibility Star power-up. That's a little weird, but then again, I think Super Mario World did the same thing, so I guess that's fair. Overall, this was a really good episode. The pacing was a little fast, but I assume they cut things down for time. Remember, these episodes are about 11 minutes each. But besides the pacing being a little weird, I enjoyed this episode, and I liked how the concept escalated halfway through. I wouldn't say it was a particularly funny episode, but the last half makes up for it. But why the fuck is this episode called Party Line?
Hey, planting is simple. It's just putting things in the ground.
Gopher Bash is about Luigi teaching the cave people how to be farmers. But uh-oh!
Stinky!
Some Monty Moles, gophers, whatever, they try to interfere and they steal the crops and replace them with piranha plants. This is actually a plot to force the cave people into buying food and resources from King Koopa himself. You know, I'm beginning to realize that all of King Koopa's schemes in this show are just capitalist ventures. I'm beginning to think MatPat was onto something a decade ago. There's not a whole lot to say about Gopher Bash, but that's not a bad thing. This is a really solid episode in my opinion. Tony Rosato's Luigi voice is always a joy to hear. His line delivery is just...
They don't have any food stored for the winter. And it's all my fault!
perfection. I haven't really mentioned this during the review so far, but I also really like Mario and Luigi's dynamic as brothers. They aren't afraid to screw with each other sometimes, and it's really fun to watch. Also, the animation is not half bad here. The characters are relatively on model for once, and they're pretty expressive too. Great episode, probably my favorite so far.
With stars like Vanilla Ice Age.
Ice Age, baby.
In Rock TV, King Koopa introduces television addiction to the cave people, and uses his broadcasts to hypnotize everyone into capturing Mario and Luigi, and bringing them to King Koopa's wrestling show to participate. Oh yeah, this is the episode where Mario and Luigi's colors swap for one scene. This happened a lot in the Mario shows as weird errors. I don't know why it happened here, this is a really easy mistake not to make. Maybe it was intentional, sort of like the gag that I did in one of my own cartoons, inspired by this type of shit.
No, unacceptable.
Just die. Gotta cheer for the winners. Yeah, more. Oh yeah, more. Now it's do or die.
Ew, what the fuck? Why did Tiny Marios come out of the question block? That's not even a power-up in any of the games. This episode is just weird. It's not bad at all, though. This was a pretty entertaining one. The animation was pretty good, and even if the pacing was a little weird, it wrapped up pretty okay. Out of all of the episodes in this show, so far this might be the funniest. I really like all of the visual gags that go on here.
Phone bill, amount due $1,295.31.
Hey, Mario, look what I made!
It's a stone, Luigi. You didn't make it.
It's a football! I chiseled it!
The Yoshi Shuffle is about Mario and Luigi teaching the cave people about football, hoping it will improve their organization and teamwork. Unfortunately, Wisenheimer,
Hey, watch where you're going, you egghead!
Who's an egghead? Eggface?
You are!
puts a spell on Luigi, turning him into an egg. The Koopalings steal the egg from Mario and Yoshi, and the only way they can get it back is to play football with it. Honestly, this episode is a classic. This is one of the more iconic and remembered episodes of the show, and I had a lot of fun rewatching this one. Walker Boone's performance as Mario here is great. You can tell that a lot of the talented voice actors who worked on this show had a good time, despite the likely terrible or non-existent direction and the questionable material they had to work with. The animation here is pretty decent too. It's nice seeing that the show has been handling it much better compared to the earlier episodes. I also really like the chase scene here, even if it has another obnoxious song to accompany the action. And Luigi's expression at the end is priceless too. This is a very entertaining episode. This one is absolutely worth your time if you have interest in watching any of this series. Princess Toadstool creates a school for the cave people, and two of King Koopa's kids, Hip and Hop, want to enroll. I know that their names are supposed to be Iggy and Lemmy, but I'm referring to them with their show names. As much as I hate their names, I'm just trying to be consistent here. Don't bitch at me. Apparently, having Koopas enroll into the cave school is upsetting to the other cave people. It's a little strange realizing that this episode implies prejudice against Koopas. But besides that, this episode is kind of shit, honestly.
Koopas!
Surprisingly, it's not because the episode is focused on Oogtar and Yoshi. It's just the Koopas causing trouble in the school, with Oogtar and Yoshi taking the blame for it. I've always really disliked these type of stories in cartoons, and I never really understood why these types of stories were always in every other show for so long. Also, I really don't like that Toadstool's main role in this show has been just to be the voice of reason or a teacher figure to the other characters. Compared to the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, this is a downgrade in my opinion. She used to be a lot more involved in the conflict and was just more entertaining in general. Overall, maybe skip this one.
Fireballs! Help!
Fireballs? Yum!
Yoshi, shut the fuck up, I swear to God! Mama Luigi starts off with Yoshi getting taken to bed by Luigi. Yoshi requests for a bedtime story from Luigi, so he tells him the story about how they met Yoshi. This episode is actually a prequel to the entire show, basically a reimagining of the events of the Super Mario World game, as the brothers travel through Dinosaur Land to save Princess Toadstool from King Koopa. But Luigi gets separated from Mario and the princess, and eventually comes across Yoshi when he was a little baby dinosaur. This leads to Yoshi developing an attachment to Luigi, thinking that he's Yoshi's mother, and eventually, they go together and save the princess. I know it's really easy to hype this episode up ironically because of all the memes this one spawned, but truth be told, this might be the best episode of the whole show. It's a little strange to make the finale a prequel, but I think it's a great episode overall. It has plenty of great action with no visible animation problems, some of the best humor and pacing in the whole show. The writing is pretty solid, and every line delivery is pretty great. And it's a Luigi-focused episode, so that's a huge bonus. And hey, the obligatory song in the episode isn't even that terrible this time around. I mean, it's still bad, but it's better? Kind of?
I'm trying to keep up as best I can. I wanna be there if you need a hand. I'm looking for you. I'm just one step behind. Oh, why are you so hard to find?
I really can't understate how good this episode is, and the insane legacy it left behind. This is the most quotable and most popular episode of the entire show, spawning a fuck ton of memes and YouTube poop videos back in the day.
Quantum physics is fun.
And there was that animation collab that came out in 2017. I really recommend you watch it after this video. I'll link it in the description. Either way, this episode is absolutely worth a watch.
You didn't tell me you were bringing a secret weapon, Luigi.
That's Mama Luigi to you, Mario.
Yeah! He said the thing!
Unfortunately, like most cartoons, this show was a victim of the 13-episode rule and never got renewed for more. So, just for fun, let's rank these episodes. So that was the Super Mario World cartoon. I gotta say, this was a fun watch. I wouldn't say the show is good by any means. Some of the episodes range from dull at best to painful at worst, but when the show hits, it really does. It's a shame that the show never got picked up for a second season. The last few episodes of the season are pretty solid, and I feel like they could have really went somewhere if they had another chance. I imagine the show didn't really click with those who watched it back in the day, and for good reason. It's very different from the Super Show and the Mario 3 show. Mario World is far more grounded in comparison to these two, with a greater emphasis on morals. I assume the Children's Television Act, which was a law set in place in 1990, caused stricter guidelines for these type of shows, and most likely had to do with the direction that it went in. Also, I imagine audiences didn't really like Yoshi either. It's really hard to find reviews for this show, but from what I could find, a lot of people really don't like Yoshi. And I can't say I disagree. He's fine in moderation, but whenever he's given too much screen time, he really ruins the episode. I really do think that the show could have benefited from a second chance, a second season to really iron out the problems and make the best show they could. But this show really felt like it was a low priority for Deke. As I mentioned before, the show wasn't its own thing. It was bundled in with Captain N in the same syndication package, and typically aired as an additional segment. Another reason why the show likely didn't last long is because this show primarily aired on NBC at the time, which during the 90s was leaning away from its Saturday morning cartoon block and wanted to focus more on live action shows. And unfortunately, Super Mario World was just one of the casualties in that transition. But for what it is, Super Mario World is kinda bad, but in a very charming, short but sweet way. There's some incredibly fun episodes in the admittedly short span that this series has. If you loved the animated segments from the Super Show, and if you love the Mario 3 show, this is absolutely worth a watch. Also, the theme song is pretty damn good.
It's a blast!
Oh, it's a blast, alright. A blast from my fucking ass!